This video will help you to learn the lines and spaces of the treble clef staff. The treble clef, as pictured here on the right, is also called the G clef. Why? Because when the treble clef appears on a staff, it wraps around the line G. G is an easy note to find on the treble clef because of this. Just look for the wrap and you know that that line is G. What are the other lines? Well, the bottom line is E. Of course, we've already talked about the second line, G. As we continue to go up, the middle line is B, the fourth line, D, and the top line, F. A common mnemonic device used to help us remember the lines of the treble clef from lowest to highest is "Every good boy does fine." What do these letter names mean? It means that any note that appears on that line is going to be named the same as the line itself. So, for example, if I have a note that appears on the second line of the treble clef staff, doesn't matter whether it's a whole note or a quarter note or an eighth note or any other kind of note, the fact that it's on the second line of the treble clef staff tells me to play a G on my instrument. If I had a note that appeared on the top line of the treble clef staff, that note on my instrument would be an F. Now let's look at the spaces. The bottom space of the treble clef staff is F. If we go up to the second space, it's A. The third space is C. And the top space, E. A great way to remember this is, when you need to know the space, you got to think face. Again, these are telling us what notes to play on our instrument. If we have a note in the third space of the treble clef staff, no matter whether it's a whole note, or a quarter note, or a half note, or an eighth note, or any other kind of note, the fact that that note is in the third space tells us that that note is a C on our instrument. Now let's practice. Here's a note on the middle line of the staff. See if you can figure out what it is before I share the answer. That note is B. How can I figure this out? Well, we know the bottom note is E, the bottom line. The second line is G. The middle line is B, which happens to be the line that this note is resting on. The next line up is D, and the top line is F. Because the note is on the third line, and the third line is called B, that note is a B. Remembering the order of the lines really helps you at first, but you also want to get to the point where you can just read the notes without having to think about it. You can use flashcards or other resources in our band digital web pages. Let's practice another one. This line is on the top space of the treble clef staff. What do you think it is? Hopefully, you said it was an E. How did I figure that out? Well, the bottom space is F, the second space A, the third space C, and the top space in which this note is occupying is E. Therefore, this note is an E. Another quick way to figure out where a note lies in the treble clef staff is to go back to what we first talked about and how the treble clef staff wraps around the note G. This means we can go from G and continue up one space or one line at a time. And as you can see, we're now moving in the same order as the musical alphabet. We can also go down to the space below G, and we know that is F. So that's another quick way to figure out your lines and spaces. You're going to want to practice with flashcards or other resources so that you get to the point where you can identify these notes very quickly, much like you do words when you read. I hope this video has helped you get a better understanding of the lines and spaces of the treble clef.